All right, well, I think we can get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Riskin, and welcome to our webinar. Just a few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted just to make sure we avoid the dog barking, the leaf blowers, that kind of stuff. But if you do have a question, feel free to enter it into the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. We'll get back to you afterwards with answers to all your questions. Now, we know that some of you are here for educational purposes, and some may be actively looking for solutions to help with your accounting task challenges. But either way, we'll reach out for a 15-minute chat afterwards and hope you have a few minutes to talk with us. So just a little bit about Revelwood. So we've been in business for over 25 years, helping accounting and finance teams improve their processes. Almost all our consultants previously worked in accounting and finance departments, so they have a deep understanding of accounting processes and technology. And this ensures that our customers get the full value of the software they've purchased. Now, as it relates to BlackLine, we are a gold partner, which is the highest level a partner can achieve. And we earned BlackLine's Partner of the Year award in 2022. Just a little bit about me. So I'm a former accountant that spent the last 20 years or so in the financial system space, managing accounting and financial planning systems. And what I enjoyed over my career is helping accountants reduce manual work. So whether it was building Excel macros or creating reports or even implementing new software, I always like seeing the happiness on people's faces when an 8-hour monthly task now takes only 10 minutes. And just a little bit about BlackLine. So BlackLine is a company that creates software for accountants. It's all that they do. Almost all their time and resources are spent on designing software to automate and simplify accounting processes. Now, in a nutshell, they have a huge number of users, a huge customer base across the globe, and they're recognized as the best in the industry. So let's talk about why accounting departments can use a system like BlackLine. Usually, we see accounting teams experience pain throughout each close. And it's usually because most of the work is repetitive and it's done in Excel. So for the accountants, they're doing lots of reconciliations and month-end tasks, and it's time-consuming to complete. They're keying in GL balances into reconciliation spreadsheets, manually matching journal entries to bank transactions to complete bank recs, or verifying journal entries aren't late posted after a reconciliation is completed. Now, for the management team, they struggle with knowing which close tasks are completed and which aren't. They lack that instant visibility into the close process and have to reach out to different team members to get updates. That can be time-consuming on both the manager and the accounting team. So that's where BlackLine can help. It eliminates these issues around the month-end close, helps accounting teams complete close tasks and reconciliations faster, and it also gives management real-time visibility into their team's close processes. So BlackLine offers 8 main modules to help with the close, and those are what you see here listed on the screen. Now, the 3 most popular modules are the ones highlighted in blue. These help with balance sheet reconciliations, bank reconciliations, and managing the month-end close tasks. Almost all customers need help in these areas. So BlackLine actually sells these as almost like a starters bundle, and you can be up and running with them in 2 to 3 months. Now, most people we talk to understand the benefits of completing the close faster, but there's a huge secondary benefit as well, and that's gaining the capacity to work on other projects and initiatives. Most companies have a wish list of projects to complete. They just don't have the time to do them. But with BlackLine, they gain the capacity to take them on. All right, so we've talked a bit about how companies can benefit from BlackLine. Now let's jump into the first module we'll cover today, the balance sheet reconciliation module. One of the great things about it is how much time it saves you each month. For a lot of customers, before they implemented this system, they spent 1 to 2 weeks reconciling accounts. And that's with more than one accountant. And the main reason the reconciliations took so much time was because it was manual and it was done in Excel. But after they implemented the BlackLine, many customers were able to cut that time in half. So let's take a look at how the module works. I put together a demonstration video so you can see the software in action. To start the demo, I want to give a high-level overview of how the balance sheet reconciliation module works. On an automated and scheduled basis, BlackLine imports your trial balance files from your different GL systems and use it to populate the GL balances in all your reconciliations. Then, you'll add supporting items to each rec to complete them. These can be entered by the preparer of the rec, or you can import extracts or Excel files from your subsystems containing the supporting item information. Then, BlackLine runs each rec through its auto-certification rules. These rules allow the system to complete the rec for you, so your accountants don't need to spend any time working on them. It's a huge time saver for most of our customers. And BlackLine sees that on average, 60% of reconciliations are auto-certified by the system. The recs that are auto-certified get classified as system certified. You can review them for audit purposes, but it's not required. For the recs that aren't auto-certified, the system provides many features to help accountants complete them and push them through the approval workflow. So let's see how reconciliations look like in the system. I'm currently logged in as Kim Wilson, and she's the preparer of reconciliations. The fiscal period is set to June 2023, and my demo environment is set to mimic what the start of the fiscal month might look like. This screen I'm on lists all the June reconciliations that Kim is responsible for completing, with some key information about each rec. Think of it like a summary view. For each rec, so you can see the entity and accounts and account descriptions, the GL balance and currency. Now, the balances are currently 0 because we're mimicking the start of the month, and I'll show you how they update in a bit. Who the reconciliation approver is, and what the due dates are for preparation and approval of these recs. Also notice that we can see the status of each rec. Right now, they all say not prepared because it's the beginning of the month and they haven't been started yet. So this screen gives the accountant instant visibility into all the recs they're responsible for, their status, and their due dates. This is also one screen managers can use to instantly see the status of all recs across the entire accounting team at any point in the close. And if a new employee is taking over reconciliation responsibilities, whether it be temporary or permanently, this screen would instantly show them which recs they needed to complete, really shortening the learning curve for them. Now let's see how the GL balances on each rec are automatically populated by the system. GL balances on reconciliations are automatically populated by importing trial balance files from your GL systems. This is normally a scheduled and automated process. You dictate how often the schedule process should run. Some of our customers schedule to run once a day, or others run it every few hours. Now, for a demo like this, it's really hard to show what a schedule process looks like. So what I'll do now in this screen is just manually import a trial balance file. And then afterwards, I'll show you how the GL balances were updated on our reconciliations. Now let's go back to our recs and see what they look like. So check out the GL balances on my recs. You can see that they all now have balances. So compare this to how you're probably doing these recs today. Most people we talk to are creating an Excel file for each rec, running a balance sheet report, and keying in the GL balance into each Excel sheet. Not only is it time consuming, but it's open to mistakes. A GL balance could easily be missed or even keyed in with the wrong amount. BlackLine automates the entire process, eliminating the need to spend any time on this activity and ensuring that balances on your recs are always accurate. Now, one common situation we hear often is how accountants continually check balances on their recs, even after the recs have been completed. They're worried a journal entry was late posted, causing the GL balances to change and requiring updating to the reconciliation. So BlackLine is constantly checking that this situation hasn't occurred. We talked before how the trial balance is loaded on an automated and scheduled basis. So if a journal entry is posted after a rec is completed, BlackLine recognizes that it happened and that the GL balance has changed. And it proactively sends an email notification to the preparer of the rec. And it also decertifies the reconciliation so that everyone knows it needs to be updated. It's another great automation feature that reduces your time spent on these reconciliations. Now that you've seen how the system updates the GL balances for you, let's open up a rec and look at it in more detail. Let's look at the accounts payable rec. So this is the full reconciliation and what the preparer fills out to complete it. All the recs have the same format and feel. Let's take a look at each section. The top section is where the supporting items are entered. So this is an accounts payable rec. So in this example, we're seeing all the open payable invoices at month end. But note that this section is customized to fit the specific need of the rec. So for example, prepaid expenses reconciliations usually require an amortization schedule. So for those recs, this section is going to let you create an amortization schedule. For accrued accounts, this section lets you create an accrual schedule. These are called reconciliation templates, and you pick the one for each rec that best suits your needs. This section down here, this shows me my GL balance, which was automatically populated from the trial balance file. The section here shows the difference between my GL balance and supporting items. It's a very nice visual cue to let me know if the two amounts match. This comment section lets me add any special notes about the rec. So if you're emailing management additional information about the reconciliations, that information is buried in an email inbox. It can be hard to track down in the future. Instead, you can add them right here to the face of the rec, and everyone that needs to see them knows exactly where to find them. And this section down here lets you attach any files as supporting documentations to the rec. So if documents are currently stored in emails or out on a file share, they can be time consuming to track down. So just like with comments, attach them right here to the face of the rec and everyone knows where to find them. Also notice the standardized format of the rec. All of them have the same look and feel. You ever open Excel recs from two different accountants and the files can look very different? This makes it time consuming for a manager or auditor to understand those recs. How about a new employee taking over reconciliation responsibilities? It can be harder and time consuming on them just to wrap their heads around these Excel recs that have different looks and feels. With the standardized formats of BlackLine recs, a lot of those struggles and increased time to review, those go away. So I mentioned before that BlackLine can do all the work of completing reconciliations using its auto certification rules. Let's take a look at a few examples of those. Now, we're back at the screen that shows the reconciliations I'm responsible for preparing. I'm going to filter the list to show only the reconciliations that were system certified. So all these reconciliations that you're seeing here, these were recs that the system was actually able to complete by using its auto certification rules. I didn't have to spend any time working on them. Now let me explain a little bit more about these auto certification rules. This slide here shows some of the commonly used ones, and I'll run through them now. First is the GL balance is 0 and no journal entries were posted. So essentially, if you have an account with no activity, the system can recognize it and mark that reconciliation as complete. Amortization and accrual schedules. You create your schedules one time on the rec. The system automatically rolls forward the schedules each month, and in future months, if the scheduled balance matches your GL balance, the system marks that rec as complete. GL balance, same as prior period. So if the GL balance hasn't changed from last month, the system can mark it as complete. Intercompany accounts total 0. So you can add all your due to and due from accounts onto one reconciliation. And if the balance is net to 0, the system can mark that one as complete. And lastly, if the GL balances match your subledger balance or a bank balance, the system can recognize that as well and mark that reconciliation as complete. These auto certification rules are just a huge time saver for BlackLine users. So I'm back at the list of auto certified reconciliations. Now, as the preparer, I didn't need to spend any time working on these recs. And remember, on average, BlackLine's customers see 60% of their reconciliations auto-certified by the systems. That's an immediate reduction in time spent on your recs your entire accounting team will benefit from. So let's take a look at a few auto-certified recs. The first one I'll open is the accounts receivable rent reconciliation. Now, in this rec, the GL balance was 0. So pretty simple here. The system was able to recognize it, and it auto-certified it using its all balances 0 auto-cert rule, which you can see here in the upper left. The next one I'll show is the prepaid insurance rec. Now, this rec contains an amortization schedule. The supporting item section on the screen is showing a summary of that amortization schedule. To see the full schedule, I'll click on the roll forward link. And now you're seeing the schedule in its more traditional format, where you can see each prepaid item, the start and ending amortization date, and the amortization by month. So this schedule here is telling me that for June, my GL balance should be $24,000. If I go back to the rec, the $24,000 schedule balance is also listed here, and I can see that it matches the GL balance. So the system was able to recognize that, and it auto-certified the rec for me. Now, the process that you just saw here would work exactly the same for an accrual schedule. You create the schedule, and if the scheduled balance in a future month matches the GL balance, that rec will auto-certify as well. Now, let's take a look at how supporting items are added to a reconciliation. I'm back at the screen showing the list of my reconciliations, and I'm going to open up my federal tax withholding rec. There's 3 main ways to add supporting items. The first way is the preparer keying them in. So let's walk through an example. I'll click on my add supporting item link. And this is the screen where we enter all the supporting item details. So let's say I have 2 pay periods in the month. My payroll system tells me what the withholding is for both pay periods, and I'll add both now. The withholding for the first pay period is $13,000. I have some user-defined fields down here where I could add additional information about the supporting item. You can make these description whatever you like. But in my example, I have a field to store the journal entry number, so I'll add that here. And then in the description, I'll note that this was the withholding for pay period June 15th. And now you can see the first supporting item is right here. Let's add it for the second pay period. And for this description, I'll mention it's for June 30th. To complete the rec, I can add comments or attach a document, but it's optional. And the last step here is to click the certify button right down here. You'll notice for the rec, the status has changed to prepared, which means that it's now moved into the approver's workflow queue. And now the approver can go in and review it and then mark it as approved. So let's look at the second way to enter supporting items for a rec. As the reconciliation preparer, I can always upload an Excel file with supporting items. Now, I've reset my tax withholding reconciliation, and here's the Excel file I'll upload. It's an example of the tax withholding details, but this time broken down by department. So when you have a large list of supporting items, loading them from an Excel file can save you a ton of time. So let's go ahead and load it. So I'm back on my rec, and this time I'll click the import link to start the process. We'll click the browse button to go out and find the Excel file. I'll tell the system that I want to import all the records from my Excel file, and then click the import button. And look at that. Now my rec has all the supporting items. I can see the pay period, department, and description of each item. I can quickly see my totals by pay period. I can also quickly see my totals by department. But all that's left is to scroll down and click the certify button, and now this reconciliation is complete. So the third way to add supporting items is through a mass upload file. The difference between this method and the one I just showed you is that the file can contain supporting items for multiple reconciliations. So you can update supporting items for many recs just by uploading one single file. Let's take a look at an example. So in this example here, I have 5 accounts receivable reconciliations, one for each entity in my ERP system. Now our ERP system can produce one single file containing all the open customer invoices across all our entities. And this is what that file looks like. This file has over 2,300 invoices on it. So it's a good size file with a lot of records. Now let's go import it. So now we go and find our load file, and we'll import it. Now keep in mind that even though we're manually importing this file right now, this whole process can be scheduled and automated to run on a regular basis, the same way that we're importing the trial balance file. Now let's go take a look at our recs. I'll open up my rec for entity 10,000. And I can see all the customer invoices were automatically populated. Let's just look at one more. Let's look at entity 20,000. Okay. And same thing, you can see all the invoices, the customer invoices for this entity were populated as well. Now, one other very important piece happened here from uploading the invoices. Remember the auto certification rules I talked about before? How the system can actually complete recs for you? They kicked in here. The total of the customer invoices for each entity matched the GL balances on the reconciliations. So the system recognized that and marked all 5 recs as complete. That's why they all have a status of system certified. So the 10 seconds spent importing the file with invoices, that actually completed all these reconciliations. Let's just take another quick look at one so you can see it. So here's all your loaded invoices right here. You can see that it totals up to $3.3 million. GL balance is also $3.3 million. So the system can recognize that and mark this rec as complete. Now, compare this to how you're probably doing these recs today in Excel. The accountant typically has to go into the ERP system, run a sales agent report, export it out to a PDF or Excel file, copy and paste it into the Excel file of the reconciliation, and then repeat it for each entity. That is so much more time consuming than the mass import method that I just showed you. And the situations you can use this method to upload supporting items is endless. You could load journal entries or fixed asset details, or payable invoices or payroll details. Any situation where you have a large number of supporting items, you can just do a mass upload into the system. So that completes the demo of the balance sheet reconciliation module. I'll go back to the slide deck now. All right, so let's finish up reviewing its key benefits. The first is GL balances automatically populate the reconciliations, and the system automatically checks for late posted journal entries after the reconciliation is completed. All your reconciliations and supporting items will be in one single location. The system ensures that supporting items equal your GL balance. And the system can actually complete some of your reconciliations for you. All right, so that completes the overview of the balance sheet reconciliation module. Now let's jump to the second core module, the transaction matching module. Now, when we're talking about transaction matching, we're talking about matching records from one data source to another. And the most common example is a bank reconciliation. To help explain the transaction matching module, let's look at a sample bank rec. This is how most companies do it today in Excel. They take the general ledger and bank data, dump them out to an Excel file, put them side by side, and then match records one by one. So I got check number 54282 for $500 on my bank statement. Let me go find it on my GL. And when I find it, I cross it off or I change it to a color. Just a very manual and time-consuming process. So here's an overview of how the transaction matching module can help. Now, on a scheduled basis, the GL system creates a journal entry file and the bank creates a bank transaction file. Both are imported into BlackLine, again, on an automated and scheduled basis. Then the system runs the files through its matching engine. And this is where the magic happens. BlackLine automatically matches your journal entries to your bank transactions for you. And most of our customers see 90% of their transactions automatically matched by the system. Transactions the system automatically match go into the match bucket. They're there for audit purposes, but you don't need to look at them at all. And for the transactions left over, the system has all kinds of features to help you match them or mark them as an outstanding item on your final bank to book report. So try to picture it. The system can match over 90% of your transactions. Your team only has to spend time on the remaining 10%. So you'll spend less time completing the rec and having more time to analyze those exceptions. So to see the transaction matching module in action, I have a demonstration video for that as well. So let's take a look. What you see on the screen now are transactions for an operating account reconciliation. And these have been preloaded into the system. It includes both depository and disbursement transactions. The left side shows the bank transactions, and the right side shows the journal entries. Now, the loading of these transactions can be fully automated, where the system automatically imports on a scheduled basis. And it can be as frequent as several times a day if you want. No human steps are required. Now let's look at the logic needed to reconcile this account. We have some AP checks here, where if the check number and the amount are the same, the transactions match. We have some deposits here, where if the amount, date, BAI code, and document type are the same, the transactions are matched. We have the total amount of multiple ACH journal entries matched to one withdrawal on the bank statement. We have the total amount of multiple ZBA bank credits matched to the total amount of multiple journal entries. And maybe the most impressive feature, the system can look for any combination of bank transactions that sum up to the same amount as a journal entry. Now, all this logic that we just saw, it can be set up in the system, so the system can automate and do all this matching work for you. BlackLine calls these pass rules. You can create as many as you want. You can utilize all the fields in your bank and journal entry files in your matching logic, and they're really easy to set up. So let's take a look at some of those pass rules. Here's those 5 pass rules set up in the system. Let's take a look at the pass rule to match our AP checks. First, I tell the system which records are AP checks. On my bank side, BAI code 475 represents a check. And if you're not using BAI codes or aren't familiar with them, there are other ways to flag a transaction as an AP check. On my journal entry side, it's an entry with a document type of PMCHK. Then I tell the system that the amounts and the check numbers of the bank and journal entries need to be the same to mark them as a match. And it's really as simple as that. So now that we've seen an overview of the setup, let's actually run these pass rules and see this automation in action. I'm putting these screens side by side to help here. The right screen contains all my bank and journal entry transactions for the month. I have 212 bank transactions and 237 journal entries, about 500 in total. Keep those numbers in the back of your head for a minute. Now, I'll click the button that reconciles these transactions using the 5 pass rules. Note that although you see me clicking buttons for each step, these steps can be automated. I'm just manually doing it that way for this demo because it helps people understand how the system works. So the system is finished reconciling these transactions. So after refreshing the screen, notice how most of the records are gone. That's because the system just matched them. The only remaining transactions are the exceptions. So picture this in your current world. The system is scheduled to do this work daily, weekly, or monthly, but it runs at night, and it matches 90 to 95% of your transactions. Your team comes into work in the morning, opens the system, and comes to this screen. And they only need to research these remaining exceptions. Picture the time saved with this approach. Now your team can spend more time on researching the exceptions instead of just finding them, or have more time to spend on other projects and initiatives. Picture the ability to identify discrepancies immediately instead of waiting till month end, or completing your recs before the close instead of after. The benefits are endless. Also, note that I'm using a small number of transactions in this demo because it makes it easier to follow, but the system can easily handle hundreds of thousands of records if that's what you have. Now, here's how to handle the remaining exceptions. In this example, we have these 2 deposits the system didn't match. It's because my bank transactions had a date of June 5th,
but the associated journal entry date was June 25th. I told my past rules to ignore them because the dates were so far apart. But that's okay, because I can match them from this screen. I click on my 2 bank transactions and 2 journal entries. Now, check out this section of the screen. It's my helper. It's showing that the 2 bank items I clicked totaled $17,500, and the 2 journal entries I clicked were also $17,500. And the difference here is obviously 0. This helps me to know that the exceptions I'm matching in the screen are the same amounts. The last step is to click the match button. And now those transactions are gone from this screen because they're matched. All that's left are these remaining checks in my journal entry transactions. These are outstanding checks that haven't cleared the bank yet. Here's the steps to mark them as outstanding at the end of the month. I click on all the checks, come over here and click the Create Item button. So I mark these as outstanding items. So all that's left to do is go and review my final bank to book report. So here's my final report. At the very top, you can see a full audit trail of your bank and journal entry transaction matches. If I click on the automatic link, this shows me all the transactions the system's matched for me. For example, if I click on this match right here for my ZBA credits, I could see on the top the 5 bank transactions that match to the 2 journal entries on the bottom. And the sum of both totaled $350,000. The bank balance is automatically populated for you when you load the bank files. So you don't need to spend time keying them in, and you know they're always accurate. These are the supporting items we just flagged a few minutes ago. Here's the GL balance. This gets imported directly from your general ledger system, so you don't need to key in those amounts either. The unidentified difference, this is my bank balance, less outstanding checks, less GL balance. 0 means that my report is in balance. And notice these 2 sections down here. I have a comment section where I can enter any specific comments about this reconciliation. And in this section, I can attach any documents, like a copy of my bank statement. And the beauty of this is that all the information about your reconciliation is here in one single screen that everyone knows how to access. No need to search through a file share to find the different documents anymore. Also, all your bank recs, no matter which user prepares them, is always in this standardized format. It's much easier for managers to review, and you can just give your auditors access to your system instead of spending time emailing them a ton of documents.
Okay, so keep in mind that although this module is commonly used for bank reconciliations, it can actually automate any scenario where you're matching records from multiple files. So note all the other listed examples of how the module can be used. And it can actually match records from up to 3 data sources. So you can use it to reconcile your journal entries to any subledger, or even a 3-way match between your credit card statements, bank statement, and journal entries. So if you're spending time manually matching transactions in Excel, BlackLine can save you that time by doing most of the work for you. Okay, so the third module we'll talk about today is the task management module. And most companies use it to track their month-end close tasks. Now, most companies track close tasks in Excel. They have a list of tasks, who's responsible for completing them, and date they're due in an Excel file. And the challenge is that anyone can make changes to the file, users can enter incorrect completion dates, and there's no notification when a task becomes overdue. Also, management doesn't have that instant visibility into what's been completed. They have to reach out to the team asking for status updates, and it becomes a time-consuming on the accountants to constantly provide those updates. So let's take a look at how the task management module works. Now, here's what a closed task list looks like in BlackLine. It shows you all the tasks, who's responsible for completing them, and when it's due. As an accountant, you can quickly see all the tasks you're responsible for completing. This gives you that instant visibility into what still needs to be completed at month end. And if you're out on PTO or you leave the company, the new person taking over knows everything that needs to be done. Now, for managers, your screen contains the tasks for your entire team. So this is one way managers get instant visibility into their team's tasks. They can see what's left to be completed and who's responsible for completing it. No more need to have status meetings or email updates anymore, because the information is instantly available in the system. Now, one feature in this module is that tasks can be set up as dependencies of another task. In other words, you could tell the system that task A can't be completed until task B and C are completed first. You're seeing an example of that on the screen. The main task at the top is to complete your accounts payable review. But to do that, the team needs to review the AP invoices and review the open payables report first. And those are both set up as dependent tasks. Now, if you're using Excel to track your tasks, it's almost impossible to set them up as dependencies. Excel just doesn't have that capability. BlackLine makes these easy to set up, ensuring that tasks are done in the right sequence. Now, like I mentioned before, managers have instant visibility into the status of all closed tasks and reconciliations. Another tool managers can use is BlackLine's robust reporting engine. The system comes with over 60 out-of-the-box reports. And if they don't fit your specific needs, you could always update them as needed. So let's take a look at a few reports. Here's a report that gives a real-time view of the closed tasks. It lists each task by accountant and the status of the task, so you can quickly see if it's been completed. The report can be customized by each manager to fit their specific preference. The point is that managers can access this information immediately. Now, compare this to how you're tracking tasks today in Excel. This type of information just isn't available instantly. You got to reach out to your team for updates, taking up their valuable time and yours. Using these reports are just much more efficient. Here's another report most of our customers use. It shows all the supporting items across all your balance sheet reconciliations in one single report. So you can quickly see all old supporting items that have been sitting on your recs for a really long time, or you can see all the adjusting journal entries that's going to get posted in the following month. This information is almost impossible to get if you're doing reconciliations in Excel, because someone's got to go into each reconciliation and copy and paste the supporting items into another master Excel file. It just takes a tremendous amount of time to do. With the system, managers can get to that information with just one click of the button. Now, another feature the system offers to help with visibility is the ability to send out email alerts. The system lets you know when something bad is about to happen. You're seeing a list of some of those alerts on your screen. So for example, the system can send a user an email when their tasks are close to being overdue. And all these alerts proactively let the team know what's going on with the closed tasks. Now this, we all know, is just something that Excel can't do. Using Excel, someone always has to play the role of traffic cop and stay on top of the team. So I just want to mention that although the main use for the task management module is to track your closed tasks, it can be used for any task or checklist that you have. You're seeing a list of other use case scenarios on the screen. So you can use it to track the audit request for the year-end audit. Others use it to track new project lists or new acquisition checklists, or even tax filing tasks. The use cases for it are endless. Okay, all right, so that concludes today's webinar. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join today. If you do have any questions, feel free to email us at info@revelwood.com. Also, just a quick reminder, we'll be reaching out asking for a quick 15-minute introduction call. We hope that you can accept that meeting and have a quick conversation with us. All right, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it.